Hi, everybody. I'm Jake. I make lots of videos about Pathfinder 2 or PF2, including adventures, new releases, character builds, and not just because it's Halloween, but because I love the topic. We're doing ghosts today. Not goats. Not ghosts. So I have Fil Kearney with me, who is just a buddy of mine who we've talked a lot about gaming and fiction, and he doesn't have the same view I have on role-playing games, as in he plays mostly and runs mostly and creates mostly D&D and third-party D&D products for 5e, but he has a lot of TTRPG experience and a lot of knowledge about folklore and different sources of fiction on a variety of subjects. So Ghost is something that I suggested to him like 9 months ago, and I'm finally getting around to. It just
It's
happens
the
to be the month
season.
of Halloween.
Perfect.
So, Phil, you want to do a little intro of yourself?
Yeah. Hey, my name is Fil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I've been focused on doing Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition. I love D&D. I've been DMing for 38 years now, and I'm thrilled that I can actually build books at this point, and that I'm good enough as an illustrator to actually be able to drop illustrations in on it. You can see my channel, youtube.com/Fil Kearney. Swing by, say hi, see what I'm working on. Cheers.
Cool. Now, my internet connection died right then, but it's connected again, and the recording is on my side, which actually I need to ask you to repeat that because it didn't. I don't know. It would have recorded to the cloud.
You're
Oh
still the
my God,
boss.
I don't know. Can you repeat what you said after you do mostly 5e? I'm sorry, I just lost it.
Oh,
No. Okay.
I, I don't remember what I said. I could just, I'll do my intro again. Okay, so hey, my name is Fil Kearney. I create role playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. I've been DMing for about 38 years. I'm good enough at design and illustration at this point that I can make books. So you can watch me make books on YouTube/Fil Kearney. So swing by, say hi, ask me anything. Cheers.
His videos are really useful if you are trying to succeed at being an author, specifically for TTRPGs. So if you are at all interested in that, check out his videos. He walks you through a lot of the process that he goes through. So it's very informative for that.
Yeah, I do everything, like everything's just live design, like actually like bashing rules together or doing page layouts or illustrations. It's all the technical work and all the teeth gnashing that goes along with actually building the book. It's kind of a study hall environment where, if you're interested in the subject, stick around or ask me questions about shit. If I'm drawing stuff, then that frees my mind to do whatever I want verbally. So if I'm drawing, you can ask me stuff. If I'm designing stuff, you can watch what I'm designing. If it's interesting, stick around.
And I mentioned this before with you, but because of our Starfighter 2 release for Paizo, I referred back to your Spelljammer videos.
Oh,
So those are applicable for us in Pathfinder 2 to create some things that are missing in Paizo's
nice.
creation.
I'm glad it's useful. It's even though I built it for 5e and there's a lot of 5e mechanics in it, the scaling ideas, like to be able to change from 5 foot to 50 foot to 500 foot scales and be able to use your same action economy at any scale. That's a concept that works with pretty much any game. I built all the mechanics for 5e, but the structure of it really does work with any game. I'm running a Shadow Dark like slash Numenera style game for my home table, using that scaling system in an asteroid mining belt campaign where the characters are either delving into asteroids like a dungeon at the 5 foot scale, or they're on mech that are running around fighting giant squids and shit in space at the 50 foot scale. And then you get to like the fleet scale where you're running squadrons that they can fit inside of a 500 foot square, but it all is using the same action economy, regardless of what scale it is. So that concept works with anything. But yeah, you can check out, I have a whole series of videos on my channel about the different types of mechanics that go into making that stuff work. So
Okay, and if one of us remembers, we'll put a link in the bottom of this video in the description. I'm going to message you now about it so we don't forget.
Okay, sure. Thanks for the plug. It was super fun building that book. And if you look at my playlist for Spelljammer creation, almost all of the artwork for that book I did online, and a lot of the mechanics I did. There's also some some streams about like the play testing that went into it and like how we built out the mechanics and how the team ran with it. Super fun stuff. Very,
Cool.
very fun.
So to start off with ghosts, I'd like to talk about my perspective and then go to your perspective, just because I know what I'm going to say about my perspective.
Sure.
So my real world perspective about ghosts is that I've had some weird experiences. Don't know if they're real or not. So my jury's out, and I am willing to be logical and let go of what I thought I believed before, one way or another. So yeah, I've seen weird stuff in this world. So people hallucinate weird random shit too. That doesn't mean it's real.
It's true.
So I love ghost stories because they give us a view into what reality beyond our experiences could be. And it makes us wonder and think and ponder about the great beyond that we have no way of knowing about. And I've read a lot of ghost stories since I was a young teen, and the topic has sort of just traveled with me throughout my life, partly because my father said a variety of things about his psychic abilities, and one of them was that he could tell when somebody was going to die. He was in World War II, and he saw people glowing on the day they died, and that occurred. They did pass. So just that's sort of my angle, but none of that matters to me in role playing because whatever my original interest was, I love fantasy. I love fiction. I love writing stories. I love reading stories and hearing stories. Anything that's going to get my imagination going. So I have played a lot of TTRPGs that have ghosts in them, and I'm going to be mentioning a couple of sources for ghost information. Number one, like the handbook for ghosts and TTRPGs, in my opinion, is Van Richten's Guide to Ghosts from 2nd edition D&D. It's just useful story format about different powers ghosts have, their vulnerabilities, weaknesses, what they tend to do, how they tend to behave, and different power levels they have.
Nice.
They also go into details about abilities that have not made the transition through 2nd edition to 3rd edition to Paizo Pathfinder 2 or to 5th edition D&D. And so there are a lot of things that I think could be reused and things that I love and miss, like causing despair, paralysis, and accelerating aging. The idea behind accelerating aging originally was stories, folktales about people dying from fear upon seeing a ghost and their hair had turned shock white. That's a real thing that can occur that's been medically studied, but it looks like aging to death. And so I think it's a really fun, cool aspect to put into games.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I have a lot more to say about the mechanics, but that's my perspective. I've read a lot of books, I've watched a lot of movies, and personal life exploration.
Right on. TV shows, movies. That's my major exposure to the folklore or fantasy of ghosts. There's a lot of people in my life that have been astral projection practitioners. I've got some limited experience with it enough to know that it's legit. Like at one point I flew out of my body in the afternoon when a friend was going to come over, and I was just orbiting my house, and I saw him coming down the street. So I jumped back into my body and got up to, and like it was I legitimately could use it as a reconnaissance system. So
you're a once and future ghost.
Yeah, I'm totally down with it. So I firmly believe there's a consciousness that exists beyond or outside or within the body, however you want to scale it. But and then there was also an interesting video I saw on YouTube today that MIT has been doing experiments with teleportation. And the idea is that when you move an object from one location to another, it destroys all the information at its origin, and all that information gets transferred to its destination. But there's sensors that they're measuring the movement of this little atomic particle. It's still catching information about that particle at its origin point after it teleports.
Cool.
So MIT is having an issue of like, it looks like quantum reality actually can't destroy data, even if it's being moved. There's still remnant information that remains in its place. And they're trying to figure out what that means, but they think at the underlying level it means that nothing is ever lost. It just changes a level of access, and it would not be crazy to think that ghosts are a piece of a quantum coding of that personality being imprinted on an area. So
like an echo.
Yeah, an echo. And that kind of like the loops that we were talking about, like with ghost looping, that kind of leans into that echo idea, because it's just the same thing over and over again. So that's my quick theological and technical take on ghosts right now. So to evolve over time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can only stop learning if you die.
Yeah, there you go. And that's not maybe even true.
Especially given the topic.
Yeah.
Something I found interesting in my studying of my research of ghosts before this video, to sort of refresh myself on anything recent that I could on the topic. First of all, I love watching ghost hunters because that's sort of the experiences that I've had. You know, like seeing a vision out of the corner of your eye, hearing someone say something. Did that really happen? It's like watching other people go through what I went through and being like, did that really happen? I have no idea. So it's easy to relate to.
Yeah, totally.
But also, purgatory seems to have been invented to explain ghosts within the Catholic Church at about 1000 AD or 1200. They're not quite sure, around that area.
Well, that makes sense.
Right, because they had all of this old folklore, these tales of pagan cultures, including Roman, that ghosts were a real thing. Bodies had to be buried a certain way. The dead had to be respected, and you had to respond certain ways to get them out of your house or whatever. And then the church came in and said, no, those are demons. And then there was just this huge conflict and people leaving the church and denigrating the church in public. And it was easier to say, well, then maybe there is a thing. We don't know. Maybe they're still here and suffering. And that's like sort of an afterlife before you get to an afterlife. Thus purgatory.
Nice. Gotta keep the pagans happy. Gotta keep the pagans happy.
Well, yeah, because people started out as pagan. It's our roots.
That's right. Or rebranding your religions. Enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of rebranding that's happened over the centuries, millennia, of course. But it seems as though we have always believed in ghosts. Our people have tried to have an understanding of our natural world, and when we couldn't understand or explain something, we pinned it on something that we could relate to, which was often ourselves just after death. Maybe there are still selves after death. In fact, the first vampires were really just spirits, and that translated into the belief in vampires draining the spirits, draining bodily energies, bodily fluids, life force, or sometimes actual flesh from a corpse, and the corpse that was in the ground could somehow come back. But it all just started as the idea of spirits haunting the living and harming them somehow. So hags, vampires, other spirits like kobolds were specifically named by an early Catholic archbishop, and goblins were originally just spirits.
Oh, right.
So we started off with people die, weird shit happens that could have been something that person was interested in, and maybe that's really a ghost, or maybe it's this other thing. And then we're really good storytellers, our race. So we just kept evolving and changing stories to fit different cultures, fit different beings, fit different scenarios. But we've always had this belief in spirits existing after death. So, I want to say one thing about. I could say a lot of things about older editions of Ghosts, but the thing that I miss the most, that I love the most, besides the incorporeality, which isn't in all Ghosts now, is the aging, because it made Ghosts fucking terrifying. If you fail your save, and not 5th edition rules, not critically fail, like you just fail your save, you age 1d4 times 10 years.
Yes. Back in first and second edition. Yeah, that was brutal. Super brutal. I ran a campaign and I required all the players to be human for that campaign because I wanted darkness to be an issue. But I also threw a spirit realm in there that they had to pass through gauze to move from one realm to another, and when they did, it aged them.
Neat.
So they were super paranoid. Like the further out they went, the more layers they would have to pass through, and it would age them more and more.
And that paranoia, that personal involvement is missing from a lot of the undead.
Yeah. Just that level, like that Cthulhu level of just eldritch terror of like, it's almost like second edition psionics. Like this is going to deal ability damage to you, and you've only got like 12 strength, and I just took 6 of it. Good luck.
Yeah, it's just I've critically hit with a shadow, and then the fighter goes down.
Yeah, super scary. Very little margin for error. Second edition, it was roguelike. Like the all campaigns were roguelike campaigns. Very little mercy. And then these entities that would attack you in these different attack different aspects of your character, like that is really cool. Applying conditions, aging is excellent. Like you don't care if you're a dwarf or an elf so much, but if you're a halfling or a human, it's like, God, that's terrifying, especially in second edition, because your stats would get worse as you aged.
Yeah, third too.
So minus 6 strength. Here you go.
I've seen the elf with the group only age 10 years and the human age 40. And the elf is like, oh, wow, you don't look so good.
So unforgiving. It's awesome. God, it's awesome. I love it.
And that, I think, is something that's missing from a lot of monsters no matter the system. Pathfinder 1, 2, D&D, whatever edition, is that the fear of the undead and the unknown is kind of drained from the system in favor of balance. Who the fuck cares about balance? We're here for fun, not for nice, orderly progression and balance.
Yeah, you can really lean into the horror aspect of a game by throwing away the idea of fair games. Just like make it like fuck around and find out, and it is bad news.
Yeah.
I maybe a tangent, but I use shadows and wraiths and specters a lot from a 5e perspective. I use a lot of incorporeal creatures in dungeons because of corridors and hallways. Like these creatures can move through a wall and attack you, and then recede back through the wall again and not be attacked back. I would do that. I terrified a team of, I shit you not, 22nd level characters with a squad of shades that could go through the floor. They could just reach up through the floor and just rake for D6 strength damage every time they would rake you. And there was like a pack of 12 of them that were just chasing these guys around. They eventually figured, well, if we levitate and push along the walls, we can keep away from the floor. And that worked for like maybe 5 or 6 rounds until they figured out to go around and then started attacking them from the ceiling. They're like,
but that kind of creative thinking is what we're missing too, because we don't have the challenges that inspire that.
Right. Yeah. Because everything is so statistical now and balanced out that, it's like, I know if I hit this thing 4 times, it's probably going to drop because that's what the math says it's going to do. It's like, no. If you take that away, it's like, if you make eye contact with them, you gain a degree of exhaustion. Or like the old school Medusas, like if you make eye contact, you are petrified and your character is gone. Good luck. So like, that's like, you got to know you're fighting a Medusa. So you have to leave all these tells around the dungeon, so it's blinded. It's like, hey, you just walked into a room with a whole bunch of people doing this. It's like, what should that tell you is happening here? If you don't get it, that's your fault. And that's
right.
That's the old school style of gaming that it can be brought back at any time. But I mean, that's a conversation. Is like, that's kind of like a session 0 thing you want to run.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be brutal to you and you're going to love it. So just stick with me and, don't worry about your backstory so much, maybe.
Like half a page is probably as far as you should go.
But, yeah.
Speaking of that, the Medusa in the past, I'm right now working on a Medusa patron for Pathfinder 2. So the patrons, I'm not sure if you're familiar, Phil, but the patrons for witches work similar to the patrons for warlocks in 5e. Okay. So they give you a base starting skill selection. They give you a type of spell that you can cast, as in there's 4 traditions. It's arcane, occult, primal, or divine. They also give you a special hex that only that patron can give, and in this case, it's going to be slowing and then petrifying at higher levels.
Excellent.
And each patron also gives you an ability for your familiar. So if you cast any hex, your familiar has this radius where they have an effect that is related to your patron. So I'm not sure what that one's going to be yet. Maybe something about aggression or reactive vengeance or something. Something that's going to be thematic to Medusa. I'm not sure.
Right on. Cool.
Since I'm plugging the channel, incidentally, so this Halloween we're going to be having a one-shot Halloween special session that all the characters are already sort of Halloween themed, and it's going to be 4 of them, so a larger group than I am used to having, but they're going to be investigating hauntings and dealing with supernatural shit. And
cool.
It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to reveal then a new archetype I'm working on. It's really just a revision to an old one that isn't really good. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Pathfinder 2 Ghost archetype.
Right.
So, those of you who are watching this channel probably know that the Pathfinder 2 Ghost archetype exists at the very least, because I've made a couple videos on it already, but it is not what people think of as a stereotypical real-world ghost. It is tied to a physical location or object. It flies and is incorporeal, but you can't fly any further than a 1/4 inch off the ground, and you can't move through solid objects. Is that really flying and incorporeal? I don't think so.
Sounds statistically balanced.
Right, but boring. And since then, Starfinder 2 has come out with level 1 ancestries that you can fly. So we're changing that shit. So this is silly.
Right on.
But something that I really wanted to talk about today, and I want to make sure we get in, is how media and real life experiences have informed how ghosts are written about and played in role-playing games, and that we can modify the ghosts that we encounter and the ghosts that we play as to have more of these facets. So the ghosts that are in real life are expected to be dead people who are still around for some reason. Usually it's an emotional charge. The people that believe in ghosts and that their ancestor is a ghost is because they died for unfinished business. They have unfinished business to do. But I've seen a lot of movies and had personal experience that, while that might be the case, I don't know why you would assume that. It could just be that they're here because they want to be. It could be that they're here because they have a long-reaching mission of caring for their entire line of descendants. It could be that they just like the house they live in and spent years making. It could be for any reason, not just, oh, I need vengeance against that guy who crossed me.
So that's a very like a Mulan is probably the best Disney example I can give, where the little dragon spirit is the ancestral guardian that is queued up to help Mulan in her mission. It's a spirit creature. It becomes flesh, but it has the council of the elders of the elder ancestors of that house. And there's this, they're all in this council in this, like the shrine, they all hang out in this shrine and like the ethereal, and having debates with each other and arguing with each other about how they can help and what she's doing wrong and all that stuff. If you haven't seen the original Mulan cartoon, it's actually really fun.
I have. I just love that you made the reference. It's awesome.
Yeah, right on. But yeah, but that's a really good point of like being bound to that family. And although that's their heritage, that's their home that they've had generations live in, it's anchoring both to the bloodline and the physical location. Because like I could see like dwarves, for instance, I could see like massive ghost activity under the ground.
Oh yeah,
like that just like makes so much sense. That would make so much sense because they just anchor themselves to that location literally. So like, where is their spirit gonna go? It's like it would, like the essence would like infuse the rock to like create more enchanted armor or whatever. Who knows? Anyway, whatever. But yeah, I think I'm tangenting.
No, it's okay. Let me jump on that and add what I experienced to that. So I created a town called Grashmar City of Monsters. And part of that monster, so it's populated by a lot of different monstrous ancestries, monstrous races. So there's a bunch of trolls and orcs and um, minotaurs and goblins and kobolds, and the way that the peace has been kept had to be enforced. So it's enforced spiritually by special magical spires bullshit that allow dead monsters within a 10-mile radius around, actually 100-mile radius around the town, to flock to the town when they die. And they are then companions and guardians for the rest of the monsters.
Oh, cool. I love that. That's super fun.
They have a purpose.
That's really cool. I love that. That's great.
Also, Anne Rice. Okay, you talk if you had a response to that. Otherwise, I'm going on to Anne Rice.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm familiar with Anne Rice.
So, Anne Rice, Servant of the Bones. I love that book. I read it twice. I almost had watched it. I read it twice. And The Servant of the Bones and some of her other writings, I think Violin was one of them, has a portrayal of ghosts being controlled by or connected to their own bodies or pieces of their body after they died. I love the idea of maybe your character had a loved one who passed away and you like rubbed a spot of their blood on your wrist to honor them and they start following you. And that's their connection to you. And it's just inherent. It's them. They don't think any different of it. They're just like still walking beside you, and they materialize and offer help. And they're basically an NPC with the group. You could do that in character creation in Pathfinder 2. If you choose something like a summoner, it could be your great uncle or your daughter or whatever following you.
Oh, cool. I love that. Back in Dark Sun in second edition, I had an elven air cleric. Dark Sun, all the divine magic is powered by elements. So you'd pick if you're a cleric, you would pick an element. So like earth clerics, water clerics, fire clerics were really popular because of damage. And then air clerics, because elves are high mobile runners, having air clerics in your tribe made them even more mobile. And the way that we were expressing that divinity is when we'd make prayers to regain our spells. We were actually conversing with wind spirits. So there was always some sort of like wherever there was a wind blowing, you could talk to the wind. If we'd spin a spell slot, we can get information about what the wind knows in that area. It's not quite like ghosts, but it's the same sort of like ghosts and spirits is almost the same thing to me. Like a ghost is a human or is like a sentient spirit as opposed to like an animus, like manifestation of an element or a creature
or of the land or the area.
Yeah, it's more of a spirit, quote unquote. But once you start interacting with them in the game environment, they all have personas. And once you get a personality attached to an incorporeal being, it's effectively a ghost with different combat capabilities or no combat capabilities at all, because it's just a narrative device or an ally of some sort, or like a scout in this instance. So, but
the Pathfinder 2 Animist functions similar to that. They speak with spirits that are elemental.
Fun, very fun, very fun. Yeah, it's I love. I like the idea of like a ghost, like maybe a ghost lord, like instead of being like a necromancer with like a bunch of skeletons or zombies, having different pieces of bone from different people that he knew to be able to have and to be able to summon them in to be like in D&D 5e, there's the ancestral barbarian that when you rage, you summon spirits of ancestors that create different statistical advantages and
I'll throw ghosts at you.
Yeah, throw ghosts at you. Get fucked up. Yeah, but like wearing bone armor, which is like just an assembly of other warriors from your tribe that have fallen. That's what's generating the power to create these ancestral spirits that are surrounding your character. Is like you're just pulling the essence out of their bones that you wear as armor, literally as armor, and then further like buffing effects with the ghosts around you. So
I like that because it looks intimidating, but the purpose behind it is to honor your family.
Yeah, right. Super cool. Super fun. Super fun. You could, if you really ran with that, you could have like bones just laying anywhere. Like you could have a shaman. You could have like a shaman's lair, and it has multiple skeletons set up or like bone shards set up in different areas that allows it to tap into other spirits to help defend its lair when it gets attacked. So that's probably been up the same idea. I'm tangenting hard again. What else?
Um, what the hell did you say that I wanted to comment on? The oh, something that I love about the lore of 5e and 3.5 D&D. I don't think this is the case in Pathfinder. I'm not certain. I'm not as much of a lore nerd in Pathfinder as I was in D&D. But all the elementals and all the ghosts are the same essence. If
Yeah.
someone dies, they could be brought back through an elemental plane, sort of like they're on their way to the afterlife and they get diverted into the plane of fire, and now they're a fire elemental instead of a ghost.
Fun. That's a lot of fun. I like that. There are no technical rules. There's never really been any technical rules that I think of anywhere about what you're actually transitioning from being alive to getting to your afterlife of choice or destination. They talk about the ethereal plane being a transition plane and the astral plane being transition planes, but it's in the ethereal plane where you can actually run into ghosts, but the ethereal plane doesn't get you to the outer planes. The astral
Right.
does. So there's enough of like narrative ambiguity in the multi-plane system, in the multiverse system, that you can cheat how spirits actually transition from being alive to where they go in the afterlife. So that would be something you could easily like that doesn't break anything anywhere, because there are no, as far as I can tell, or what I recall from all the different editions of D&D at least, that there's no actual path that a spirit follows to get from their body to their afterlife. They just kind of show up there at some points. So yeah, being able to divert them into the inner planes with the elemental realms, that's just fucking cool. I love that. I love that.
I like the idea of like your grandmother coming back as an air elemental to whisper into your ear to help you with stuff.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Or your fucking dad shows up every time you start a fire. You just stare into the fire and you just start remembering him. It's like, damn it.
His face shows up. He's like, "What?"
Yeah, fucked up again, kid.
Oh, so a couple of the things that I see a lot in media that ghosts do is um, being related to time travel, which we'll approach in a moment, and also having their own psychic loops, having their own worlds that they live within, that they repeat actions because they're stuck at that point before they died. It's like where they find the most comfort or the most conflict. It seems dependent upon where their emotional seat was.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen the movie The Haunter? It's a teen movie, but it's fun.
Probably not. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, in The Haunter, uh, this teen girl wakes up every morning and has breakfast with her parents. They talk about having her birthday party the next day, about driving somewhere, her borrowing the car. They talk about breakfast, and they do dinner later on, and they have conversations about missing socks from the laundry every single day. And she's the only one who knows they're dead.
Great. I love that.
So obviously there's a point to it. There's a plot. I'm not going to give away the plot, but early on you get the message that she knows they're dead. And so that living the same loop is repeated in The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Haunting of Hill House, and a huge variety of ghost stories that I've read and watched. And so it seems as though we're missing something if that obsession on their lives or obsession on something being lost, that loop is not present. And so not only should it be present on the DM side of creating ghosts that have a story, that have a past, that have this obsession that they then work the guests into, sort of like a dementia patient. I've worked in dementia cottages, and you have to step into their world to interact with them because they don't understand who you are if you're not in that world. And ghosts work very much the same way in literature and folklore and movies that we have. That if you do not act as though you are part of their world, they will either exclude you passively or they will include you, and you don't want to be the person that has been included against your will. So choose what role you take.
I like the idea that if you decide to choose combat to try to defeat a ghost, killing it just resets it.
Yeah.
It just starts its loop over again. So, and what I like about that is if you design a section of adventure or like a scenario where you're dealing with a ghost that if you could choose to try to solve whatever it is that's causing them to stick as an exploration / social sort of pillar of adventure. You could of course choose combat, but that's just going to reset them. So if this go in second edition, there was a series of adventures called Scourge of the Slave Lords. And the first adventure was this fortress that they had taken over. They were using to gather slaves to then transition further into wherever they're going. And it was in Greyhawk. So don't ask me what the nations were involved with it, because I don't know Greyhawk. But the point is that to get into the fortress where the slaves were kept, it was an actual fortress. So it had like a wall with parapets and stuff on it, and it was a three-story wall. And if you had to climb up to the second story and crawled into there, you could avoid the guards on around the parapets on the rooftops. But that particular area that was available for you was haunted by a poltergeist. Your character's like 5th level, and this had that aging property that would cause you to lose deep times 10 years at fucking 5th level. It's like DM notes. It's like it's unlikely that you're going to be able to kill this thing, but it's there because it died during a fire in the siege, and it was bound to that location. So it's basically roaming the hallways, and it just runs in a loop. So if you can get ahead of it, if you can stay ahead of it, it'll never catch you. Or if you can let it sneak by and then try to quietly follow along behind it, it'll eventually hit the end of its loop and drop back to the beginning. So it's like this conveyor belt of death. And as long as you stay between the gears, you're not going to get chewed up. Otherwise, it'll catch you. And if you try to fight it, you might alert other guards, but they won't go down there because there's a poltergeist down there. So they're just going to leave you for dead, but just wait for you to get out if you can somehow. But that was like the first death trap that your characters ran across was deal with this poltergeist. It's way overpowered for you. But it was supposed to be a stealth mission getting in the first place. So if you end up fighting this creature, you've already blown your stealth opportunity. This is just giving you a physical punishment for not being smart about how you're stealthing, like sneaking into this facility.
And setting the mood better, because your characters would be afraid.
Yeah, it was great. It's so, 5th level characters, it's intimidating. Like those creatures, like in second edition, I don't even think they did damage. They just aged you until you died. It's like an elf could fight them for fucking ever, but it's like, what are you really doing here? You're not really making any progress. It's just, if you allow it to die and then start its loop over again, then it's you're just wasting time and getting old. So
I want to add to that loops don't have to be one individual. It can be a scene, a town, a scenario. It can even be what in Pathfinder 2 is called a haunt. It's basically leftover energy of a or multiple deaths that are causing a repeat event that you have to defeat the reason that it exists or attack it magically somehow.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Add in more people to make it more complicated. It gives you can choose sides inside of the conflict. If there might be more than one way to actually solve the scenario, you might be able to banish some of them, but then others are left.
I'm picturing North against the South, like you have to enter into the battle and figure out who.
Yeah.
That's a belief that 1200 AD Catholics had, that there were Romans had this belief originally that there were wraith armies that would appear sometimes, not just like individual ghosts of a person, but entire armies of ghosts.
That's awesome.
And like that is an old belief. We can recapture that and use it, repurpose it.
I love it. I love that. That's so awesome. That was very Tolkien. Like
yes, you're right. It is.
Yeah. What a great quest. That's a
cool
solution. Like if these things are just random things or whatever that are inside your campaign world, if you need to get forces like that, get on the side of like figure out what that ghost army needs to be able to put itself at peace and then sequester them into helping you to solve the problem. That's a really cool way to approach it. I love that. Yeah, that's fun. That's really fun.
The loop idea feeds into the last concept I wanted to make sure we cover is time travel. Have you seen the haunting of Bly Manor? Okay.
No.
So, or the haunting of Hill House, the TV series. Okay.
No, I haven't.
So in both of those, they have aspects of time travel, and the way they pull off time travel is very interesting to me because the ghost steps out of time where they currently are because they're remembering another event that happened to them previously. They go back in time and with their current mindset and memories, relive that, re-experience it, and learn something new from it. So it's like a way to break their loop by going back into their loop and accepting and uncovering more secrets and more details about what happened.
Neat. That's making me think of trauma that's held in the body, like with
Yeah.
wounds.
Have you read
That
Body? The body. Oh my God, what was it? The body holds the secret? I
memory,
don't.
yeah, memories are held like the massage therapists I hang out with believe that memories are held inside the body. So when you start working a particular muscle, it'll release all of the memory. Like if it's a locked up muscle or something from a car wreck or something, it's holding all the psychic damage of that trauma inside the wound. And as you work the wound, it releases that trauma. And sometimes you re-experience it. It was like while you're shuddering or crying or something while they're working on you because your
Mhm.
body's reliving that experience. But it has to, as part of the process of releasing that energy that's trapped inside of that scar tissue. And I can see ghosts acting the same way. Like if they could be looping forever through the sequence because they just don't get it because they're trapped in it. They haven't seen it enough to be able to start breaking their own illusion, which I guess is kind of like the whole purgatory to heaven sort of idea.
Right.
That you have to cycle through it long enough to pay your penance to be able to understand, which kind of leads into like the Good Place. If you've seen the Good Place, it's about they talk about having to, well, I won't spoil it for you, all the details, but they get into this place of cycling through your own life traumas to be able to evolve as a spirit.
I
And
don't think I have.
oh my
No,
God,
I
the Good
mean,
Place is so good.
I love that concept. I have delved into a lot of traumatic experiences for me and for others, and psychology has a lot of tools to help you uncover old trauma, re-examine it, process it, and let it go.
Yeah.
The Body Keeps the Score is the book I was trying to remember.
Oh, right on. That's a great title. Jesus. Love that. Love that. I
The
immediately understand what it's trying to say.
well, it came about from the author studying psychology and learning that there were patients that would feel a hand gripping their wrist and not understand why. And there would just be pain there, and they could make out a lot of detail, like they think there's a ring on the finger. And it's just a repressed memory. They didn't understand that their body is telling them, there's something wrong here. We need to have a conversation.
Yeah,
And
that
that
makes
works with
sense.
ghosts easily.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that. Yeah, the location or item or whatever it is that they're haunting becomes is obviously the sore point that they haven't been able to resolve yet. There was an entire campaign setting in third edition D&D called Ghost Walker, and all the characters, all the species of characters and the classes and stuff, that you're all ghosts. You just started off as ghosts. You were always a ghost. It was all in the ethereal plane. There was possession rules so that you could, as a ghost, possess living creatures so you could interact with the physical world again. But you
Cool.
had limited engagement, so like you could do like one shots in the physical world, possessing other different types of people's bodies,
I
and then you
like
have to
that.
bail on it and return to the ethereal plane. And that was a lot of fun because it gave you an opportunity to you're like if you're living through experiences, your characters, I mean, you're just taking over different bodies. You don't actually die, but that scenario ends because the characters that you're using, that you possessed, you lost them, and now you're forced out of those bodies, and whatever you were trying to resolve with those bodies is now unresolved, and you have to find some other way to be able to impact the real world around you. So, and it's why was I talking about that? God, that was a major tangent. Um, it was setting up the idea of loops. So like if you wanted to, as players, if you wanted to get involved with that loop, you could basically set up a scenario like a skill challenge of some sort, or a scenario where you're trying to resolve something, and your characters would have to find new people to possess to lead them into that scenario again. And that would be that would be starting to create this sort of lore around your characters, where if you flipped it, and your players as real living creatures would hear about anyone that goes into these woods end up killing themselves, and no one knows why, but everyone that goes in and spends the night there, they end up dead. From the other side of it is there is a demon in those woods that you have to physically fight, And every time you possess anybody that comes in there, so you have a chance to fight that demon again, it just slaughters them because you haven't found out how to kill that demon. So you're creating, from the player's side as ghosts, you're creating this legend of this deadly hallow where anyone that ventures into it dies.
Cool.
And then you can flip the script as players go in and actually start hunting these ghosts. And from either perspective, if you can come to an understanding, the NPCs as ghosts or as living creatures could then work with the ghosts as players or NPCs to work together to fight the demon. And that might be the only way you can actually defeat that. And then that heals the hallow. The demon goes away and the ghosts can go on to their next adventure or their next thing. And, the players in the physical world get whatever they get out of it, like treasure rewards or all the dead people that are in there, they can loot them or whatever.
A noble title, who knows? But something I see repeated often about ghosts is that they're desperate. And so in that scenario that you were talking about, it made sense that they would just grab anybody they could so that they could get free, and they didn't really have any choice. Their only option was to get devoured by a demon, run in fear forever, or grab somebody.
Neat. Man, this is fun.
Super fun. One last thing I want to cover. I know we're limited on time, but
sure.
One thing to keep in mind about having ghosts in your adventure, or mainly PCs as ghosts, is that there are a lot of things that can interact with them. Like Phil just said, the demon, the hallowed area that isn't really magical, but it is an area that has influence from another side, the demon, that it's not the demon's fault, but the ghosts are bringing it. So my point is that you can have warded areas where a ghost is possessing someone and then they get kicked out because that person walked into a church or a house or who knows, a brothel that's blessed. It can happen. And something that was done in a recent TV series that I watched is that there was a curse laid on the house by the first person who died there, that she died in such sorrow and wanting to remain there for story reasons that everyone else who died there had to remain there. And so anyone who dies in this house can't leave. They can't escape. And so the more people die, the more conflict you have from the other side, trying to interact, trying to get free. So it's like the longer it takes for these souls to get free, the worse it gets for everyone, living people included.
I think it was on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a show about ghosts stuck in a high school. And because they would die there, and so they wake up as ghosts and they'd be stuck there. A couple seasons in, there was all these weird metaphysical experiments being performed down like underneath the boiler room that ended up causing these people to artificially become ghosts as part of some sort of zany experiment. And the main character woke up as a ghost, and she didn't know why. Her body wasn't even found dead at the high school. She was missing. She didn't know why she showed up at the high school. And eventually it gets revealed over the course of the series that how she got trapped in the high school, but all of them just resigned themselves to being there. They weren't even the loop that they were stuck into is if they left property, they would just end up resetting to where they died and they couldn't get out. So there's a lot of ways that you can use the environment and the loops to be able to make that area become a recurring threat. Like increasing the amount of people that die there over time means there's a larger population, and that can, they could either be working together under the same curse, like being stuck in sorrow, and then maybe that does like psychic damage or does some sort of like physical, like mental stat drain or like an exhaustion levels.
I'm going to jump in here and mention White Wolf, because Wraith, the more sad your character get, the more their corpus dissolves, their afterlife body. And so they have to get more emotional stimulant to heal, to rebuild themselves. So they get it by going to parties, by meeting with people, by talking with other ghosts, or sometimes vampires who are friendly. So something that is consistent through everything we've been talking about is that ghosts are based on emotion. The stronger the emotion, the more powerful the ghost. It doesn't necessarily matter what the emotion is, but if you're setting up an adventure for ghosts, whether it's players or NPCs, think of what emotion drives that ghost, because that emotion is how it interacts with everything. If it's rage, they're going to interact with everything angrily, and they're going to have to be talked down for the simplest things. If they're there for sorrow, then they're not really going to be reachable until the issue of their sorrow is addressed. So no matter what, all these creatures are just people that have emotional turmoil that follows them into death.
I like that. I like that the very nature of those creatures allows you to approach them from different challenge pillars, like exploration, to find out how they're there, what's this history of this place, why are they bound to this, and what could the potential solution be to resolve them. Combat can put them down, but probably you're going to have to do it again and again and again, unless you're powerful enough to actually expunge them or exercise them in some way. And then the social of just actually interacting with them, like you say, to like talk them down or build them up to the point that they can become useful. And if that environment, like the ghost being the problem could be the adventure, but adding in that element to something else, like I'm trying to get this crown, but the king that died there is a ghost, and he is sad that his nation is falling under, so he refuses to give up his throne until he knows that his kingdom is safe, and it gets worse and worse. He might even have awareness of how bad it's gotten, or it's even may have fallen, and there's no one in that nation anymore. It's like a dead nation, like in a desert now. So now he's just basically like he's like a sand throne, and like the
But
kingdom
he's in a
of sand
loop. He doesn't
around.
know that. He still sees people.
Yeah, maybe. And so he's trapped up in this space, and it's like, how are you supposed to heal his nation if it's all literally dust now? And it's like that, but you're actually there trying to find a crown. And it's like, well, maybe the crown is bound to the ghost. So you have to be able to get the ghost to go away so it drops the crown so you can actually get it. If you kill the ghost, the crown disappears with him. So if that's the item that you're trying to get, you're gonna have to figure out how to make that ghost feel at peace so it can let go of its crown finally, for example.
And stealing it or killing the ghost won't work because the ghost is still there.
It's still bound to it, right? So the crown can't be taken out. It just disappears from you if you somehow sneak it away from it. So yeah, super fun. But yeah, Ghost says obstacles to a larger challenge. You could always make the ghost solving the ghost the challenge. It's like if you were doing a ghost hunter campaign, where each session you go to another area that's haunted, then the whole point of it would be, you can't kill it, you have to solve it. So you're coming up with different psychological and emotional role-playing scenarios where combat is completely irrelevant, but you can be blowing all of your character resources on gathering information, communicating with it, doing divination to find like secret passages where its body might be buried, or like some sort of hidden something that you wouldn't be able to find underneath the boards otherwise. So you can always blow your character resources towards resolving the encounter, but you don't actually have to have combat. You completely can Scooby-Doo that campaign where combat is completely unnecessary, but luring it into traps where it has to face itself, or just finding out more about it is the way that you solve it, which is a vibe. It's definitely a vibe. I don't know if I'd run a campaign that way for more than a few sessions, but it's something that if you're running an undead themed campaign, you could dip into over and over again with different power levels as your character increases, giving them larger and more complicated puzzles to figure out with how these ghosts operate. That could be a lot of fun to build.
I like that idea a lot. And you can even include the possession thing that ghosts do as part of the intricacy that happens after you've established there's ghosts here. Okay, yeah. But they're also inhabiting all the paintings and possessing the paintings that are then creating individual worlds inside each painting that you then have to go into each one and approach them. And
that's cool. I like that. Super fun. Oh my God, that's super cool. Oh man. What else? Anything else on the plate?
Yeah, ideas, but you know what? I'm gonna kick myself if I don't mention this. So I think it was Piers Anthony. It might have been Bradbury, but wrote a short story called Ghost Galaxy. And it follows the sort of idea of a ghost is the after effect of a dead person. In some stories, a ghost can take the ghost of an object, like a bottle of tequila, and now they have a ghost tequila bottle, and they're drinking because they're ghosts. They can get drunk on ghost tequila. Why not?
Sure.
And this it's sci-fi. This group of explorers are going to the edge of the known universe, and they're following up on other freighters that have been lost, and they start having weird instances of like seeing through the hull of the ship, or losing their mind, or thinking they're in a different place, or different people from the past pop up. And they finally call a full stop, and they see that all of the stars, all the planets beyond them are ethereal. As in, you go far enough out in the galaxy, and everything has already died. It's just ghosts of galaxies.
That's cool. I love that. Holy Hannah. Holy Hannah, that's cool. Ghost Galaxy, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
It's just a fun concept. You can make anything a ghost, and you can make a ghost into any aspect of an adventure you want to. Like, so many intelligent items have just been ghosts because it's fun.
Oh my God. Sorry. I'm not a huge Paizo guy, but I know enough about Starfinder to know that interdimensional travel happens through warp space, kind of like with Warhammer. But you could easily add that ghost idea as things that you have to deal with when you're crossing from one location to another. Like your overland encounters are always going to be spirits or ghosts that you encounter between these dead worlds that exist through the warp.
Yeah, I love that.
Be a really fun way of adding like a suit. Like if you really wanted to lean into like the psyker idea that Warhammer gets into, you could easily bend into that direction, borrowing all these ghost ideas. And now you have to purge your ship of spirits every time you travel through the warp because you've picked up your aspects of your ship are now possessed, or some aspect of somebody on your ship's crew that are NPCs are psychically jiving with the torment of this particular demon. So it gets pulled into this NPC's world. So now it's anchored to that one crew member who's like a horrible alcoholic and everyone knows it. But now he's got this rage spirit that manifests around him when he gets too drunk.
That makes sense because it would see a similarity.
Yeah, and these things are just trapped in the warp and they're looking for a way out. They're instinctively trying to find a way out of it. So grabbing onto anybody on a ship that goes by would be a fun way to be able to create social and exploration challenges that your team has to deal with inside of its own ship, getting to know your ship better as you're traversing the void to get from one destination or whatever, where your actual adventure is going to happen. And if you haven't resolved it by the time you get to your destination, now you have both the adventure you were planning on, and now you've got this sidekick thing that's happening. It's like I have this extra layer of bullshit that's affecting my ship at the same time that might or might not give me access to different systems on my ship or deplete resources that our team expected to have. Is now hampered. So a lower level threat could be more significant challenge than you expected it to be.
Or even a high level threat. Or even a high level threat, like the Final Fantasy animated movie, The Spirit Within, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Where like
God, what a reference.
Well, I love that the aliens or whatever, if they just touched you, they just pull your soul out because that's all that is real to them about you. And like one touch, you're gone.
I saw it in the theater. Holy shit! It's been like 20 years.
It's a fun movie though. Everybody should watch that, especially if you like ghosts. Movie.
It was that is great RPG content right there. Like running it back to the beginning. What a threat! One touch, you're dead. How are you going to deal with that?
I had so many instances where I was running a Ravenloft campaign and I say, "All right, you start to see a ghostly." I look away. Well, I said you noticed it.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Man, good times.
But I think we'll wrap up there. I think that's almost everything we could cover about ghosts without going into boring history.
Yeah, I mean, we could riff on stuff forever, but we'll just
yes, we could. We were talking for an hour before recording this. That's just the way we work, though. It's the way we think and talk. It's easy to connect on a lot of nerdy shit.
Yeah. It's super easy. These are great conversations. I am thrilled that we made this time for each other again. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Jake.
I love you, Phil.
Yeah, man.
Stitch loves you too.
Stitch!
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are going to have a link below for the spelljamming video that is a link to Phil's channel. And if it is out already, there will be a link down below to the Halloween special. Or if it's not out yet, there's going to be a link to the Ghost Archetype video. And working on improving it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Ciao.
How do I stop this? I'm not here. Seriously, how do I stop this? There it is.